Barrel Podcast with Jimmy and Deano. Get ready to dive into the wild world of Minnesota hunting, trapping, and wildlife. We'll be chatting with some folks who protect, manage, and promote the great outdoors. But don't worry, we'll also have some laughs as we chat about guns, whiskey, and anything else that catches our eye. So grab a drink, sit back, and get ready for a good time. Down the Barrel Podcast is brought to you by the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association
and wolf.report. Wolf.report, a platform dedicated to elevating the voices of Minnesota hunters, trappers, and outdoor enthusiasts. Join us in advocating for responsible wolf management in Minnesota. Share your reports, photos, and stories, and together we will ensure that they are seen by all.
The Minnesota Deer Hunters Association, protecting the future of deer and deer hunting through habitat, education, advocacy, and legislation.
Minnesota Deer Hunters Association and wolf.report proudly sponsor this podcast. However, please note that the opinions, topics, and guests featured may not necessarily align with the views, beliefs, goals, or mission of our sponsors. Welcome to the next episode of Down the Barrel. I'm your host, Jimmy.
And I'm Deano.
And today we're talking with Executive Director of MDHA, Jared Mazurek. How you doing, Jared?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Not too bad.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for coming in. You're
the brave soul.
Yeah, exactly. We've been kind of waiting on this, and I think it'll be really good. We might even get a few more listeners because we have somebody smarter than us on here.
Right. We did say we were going to get some smart people on here.
Yeah. So
you are smart, right, Jared?
That's for you to decide.
Well, you do have some kind of education, right? Probably more than us.
Well,
definitely more than Dean.
That's for sure.
But in Kansas, sixth grade is pretty high.
Hey, I went to college. Not in Kansas. I went to Wyoming.
That's even worse, I think.
I don't know about that.
There's like 4 people in Wyoming.
Is it 65?
65 people?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's twice the size of my graduating class.
Yeah. I'm big for it.
There's nothing wrong with Big Fork. Go Huskies. Anyway, back to Jared. Hey, Jared. So you're originally from Minnesota, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Whereabouts?
I grew up in a small town called Mound.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, Lake Minnetonka area. Not Mounds View. Mound.
Is that Cake Eater country?
It is.
It's pretty close.
But Mound is the town around Lake Minnetonka that Lake Minnetonka wishes wasn't there.
Oh, so you're the other side of the tracks.
That's right. Yeah, went to Mound West Tonka High School. Go Whitehawks.
Whitehawks?
There you go.
That's kind of racist.
We used to be the Mohawks. We had to change it.
Oh, yeah. We used to be the Indians here in town back in 95.
Yeah. You know what's... you keep talking bad about Kansas, but you know what? My town is still the Indians. We didn't change.
Yeah. Well,
and
we care.
Yeah. Oh, you care. But guess what? Although they're not from, I'll say this. They're not from Kansas, but it is Kansas City. The Chiefs.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose today.
Oh, you shut your mouth.
I talked to a kid at Ace Hardware today, and he's rooting for the Niners.
I don't care about a kid from Ace Hardware.
And he said that, and I was walking away, and some other older guy like my age came up to me. He's like,
old guy.
That's good to see. And I wasn't sure what the heck he was talking about. I don't know if he's a Niners fan or if he's like, oh, man, that young kid actually likes football. But I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was more of like football.
I mean, honestly, I don't know who to root for because you're going for Chiefs. My brother-in-law, Matt's going for the Niners because he's from L.A.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to go with Chiefs because they're more Midwest, I guess. Is that considered Midwest?
They are a Midwest team, honestly.
Are they?
They really are. So who are you going for?
Yeah. No, it doesn't matter. No one's wearing purple.
I agree with Jared.
Yeah.
Their both teams are wearing red.
Red, and then Niners they've got a different red.
Oh, it's a different red.
Yeah, it's like crimson. It's pretty much like crimson, so it's almost the same color as
like Roll Tide or what?
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, some 49ers fan are going to hate us for that one, but that's all right.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get any listeners from California. I don't think.
Probably not.
I got a couple friends out there. They might listen.
Yeah. But anywho, Super Bowl today.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll probably watch it later. But anyways, we're here to talk to Jared.
I know. Sorry, Jared.
Jared. So back to your bio. So originally from
Mound.
Yep, Mound, Minnesota.
And went to high school. Then where'd you go?
Yeah.
Yeah. I moved out to Colorado. I did my undergrad at the University of Denver. Go Pios. And then worked for a little bit and then went back to school, got my master's in education at Colorado College.
Oh, cool.
And lived out there for.
Wow. You got a master's degree. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Lived out there for 13, 14 years.
Okay.
I was working for environmental education centers out there.
Oh, gotcha.
Doing a lot of, getting kids outside, getting them connected to the outdoors. Worked a lot with Pheasants Forever, Trout Unlimited, backcountry hunters and anglers for, summer camps, things like that. But really trying to get kids, the next generation.
That's awesome.
To spend time outside and get involved in hunting and fishing and conservation.
Yeah, so pretty similar to MDHA's Four-Corn camps and their, what they do.
Very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is not new to my life.
Right.
Actually, my first job right out of high school was camp counselor for Four-Corn camps.
Oh, really? Where at?
At Baker. At that time, it was Baker Near Wilderness Settlement in Maple Plain. I think they've changed the name now, but
they used to Baker Outdoor Learning Center. I want to say, or
is that down by the cities or something?
It is. Yeah. So Maple Plain's 10 minutes from Mount.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, that's cool. So you've actually had a background more or less with MDHA for many, many years, and then with the education and rotating in the Four-Corn and stuff like that. So, well, that's pretty cool. I guess a lot of people probably don't know that.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you were in Colorado and you stayed out there for years. You met your wife out there, I'm assuming?
No, she is also from Mount.
Oh, wow.
Grew up across the bay from me. So in the winter, it was actually quicker for me to ski across the bay than to drive to her house. But
nice.
Yeah, so we're high school sweethearts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
She still likes you?
Well, that's a stretch, but
it's questionable.
She tolerates me.
Well,
there you go.
Hey, that's pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, I'm still
I've been married a
sleeping
long time. Well, for now. Anyway, so you're in Colorado, and I saw a picture of you online. I was doing some stalking, and you're standing in a stream with a net. Do you know which one I'm talking about? There's like some article out of Colorado, and it's a picture of Jared Mazurek.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm assuming you were working with some organization, doing some kind of sampling or something.
So that picture, I was at that time working with the Poudre Learning Center. I was the executive director there. And that was another environmental ed center, but we hosted the Colorado Children's Water Festival. So it was for 4th and 5th grade students. I think we had, 2,400 kids that day.
Oh, wow.
Come to our site and learn all about water, anything from water use to water conservation to how to measure water quality. And so that picture, I was actually in the Poudre River collecting macroinvertebrates, which can be used as a proxy for water quality. So you basically, you're trying to identify these different, macroinvertebrate?
Dean definitely does.
Dude, I can't even spell invertebrate.
Well, so they're bugs, basically.
Okay.
Bugs who live in the water that you can see with your naked eye. But basically the presence of certain species of these macroinvertebrates and the abundance of those species can tell you how clean the water is. So
I think they made me sick once in the Boundary Waters.
That was probably the beavers.
I definitely had beaver fever. That's what my doctor said.
That's crazy.
Did lose a few pounds, though. That was nice.
Well, that's a good weight loss program.
Yeah, that's pleasant. Anyway, that's awesome. So,
well, that's pretty cool. I guess I never really knew that. So then, obviously, you were in Colorado for a few years, and then you came back to Minnesota for MDHA.
I did.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, a couple of reasons. One, like I mentioned, I started my education and conservation career with MDHA as a counselor for Four-Corn camps. So I've always, kept tabs on what MDHA is up to and saw the position open, and it just seemed like a natural fit for me.
And you wanted to come back to Minnesota, right?
And I wanted to come back to Minnesota because my wife and I were expecting twins. And,
that's cool.
And my family, her family is here, and we didn't really want to do this alone like we did with our first son.
Right.
So yeah, it was a win-win. Get back to family, back to my roots, and in a great position with an amazing organization.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, other than Dean.
Right. So you got hired in more or less December of 2022.
Yes.
Yes.
So right after COVID, right? Or was that during COVID?
Pretty much after COVID.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, kind of the year after. And then so you got hired in December, more or less, and then sight unseen, bought your house, and then moved your whole family out here when your wife was expecting just in the next 2 months or a month, really?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
so,
kinda
somewhat
crazy.
sight unseen.
Yeah.
We did FaceTime with the realtor
Okay.
while she walked through the house.
Yeah, well, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
and,
pretty cool, though.
yeah. It worked out. We love
Yeah.
the place, and
Awesome.
and it's a great area to live in.
Yeah. Well, no, we sure do like having you here. So, getting back to Jimmy saw a picture of you in a creek, and I've seen a picture. Obviously, it's been kind of floating around of you with an elk. I'm obviously assuming that it was out in Colorado. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and hunting of elk? Obviously, we don't get to hunt elk here in Minnesota.
I buy every year, but I never get it.
Right. So tell us a little bit about any hunting that you did, even in Colorado.
Yeah. Well, out in Colorado, I was always after elk and mule deer because I was living up in the mountains. All the whitetails are out in the eastern part of the state, which I did pheasant hunt out there, but never big game hunted. So that elk, I'm assuming the picture you saw was, it must have been 2017 or 18. And unlike Minnesota and most states, it's all lottery, right?
Yeah.
For big game hunting. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to get a tag every year. But the area I was in, which was Woodland Park, Colorado, right on the north slope of Pikes Peak, my wife and I were running another education center at that time on about 200 acres surrounded by Pike National Forest.
Yeah.
And so I was hunting the national forest on Pikes Peak, and I was able to get an over-the-counter third rifle season, so a late season bull elk tag.
Yeah, because there was snow in that picture. I do remember.
Oh yeah, it was 4 feet of fresh powder.
Oh, jeez.
And I was about 7 miles from the truck when I shot that thing, hunting by myself.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a process, but it was a nice 6x6 bull elk.
Yeah, it looked nice.
By far the nicest I've ever taken.
So were you considered a resident then? So
I was, yes. Yeah.
So it's a little easier probably to get a tag.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think my elk tag was maybe pushing $50. I tried to get my dad to come out and hunt with me one year, and his out-of-state tag would have been like $800.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, heck, when I hunted in Illinois for whitetail, it was like, I guess it was only by $600-700.
Yeah, and
So
I think
bad for an
out-of-state tags, depending on in Kansas, which whether archery or rifle depends on the
Right.
price. But I want to say archery, $500.
Yeah, it was right around
Rifle might have
500 when
been-
I checked there.
Rifle wasn't too much.
But then they have that other, you got to buy a license and then a permit. That's different than Minnesota, where you just
It
buy
is
a license.
correct. Yeah, out there you have to have a hunting license, which is typically around $100, and then you have to buy the hunting permit.
Right, which
Yeah.
was the same in Illinois,
Yep, or the
too.
tag, more or less. So yeah, a little bit different everywhere we go.
So was that the only elk you've taken? I mean, that's pretty impressive, though.
Yeah, that is pretty
You
impressive.
still have the rack?
I do. It's above the fireplace right now.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's definitely my prized trophy.
Well, yeah,
I'm not a
6
trophy
by
hunter
6.
by any means.
Well, no.
but I definitely hung on to that one.
That was some good meat. You eat all that meat, or is it, you still have some, or is it all gone?
Oh, I ate it all.
I'll say that was a few years ago, so
Well, I was hoping. I was hoping.
Right. No,
I don't know.
it
I've
was-
never
it was
gotten.
good
I know there's a lot of meat. I've helped with some moose, but I've never got to do elk. So
Yeah. No, it was a good process. I did the Euro mount myself in a horse trough over a campfire. And That was
Nice.
about a 3-day process.
Yeah.
sweet. So did you have to pack it out?
I did.
I was gonna say 7 miles.
That's a
Dude,
lot of
I
work.
can't even walk like a mile without
even
run out of breath.
Yeah, your last big deer, we drug out with a 4-wheeler.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That was
I
hard.
I was a little bit younger and in shape at that point.
Yeah.
3 kids later, and
Yeah.
I couldn't do that today.
Right.
Oh man, no doubt I would die for sure.
Especially in the mountains. I mean, 7 miles.
there's no oxygen up there.
Elevation difference, I'm assuming, would have played a big part in everything.
Oh yeah,
too.
I mean, my house was at 10,000
Oh,
feet.
right.
I was up at probably about 12,000 when I.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Last time I was in Aspen, just walking across the parking lot to go to the restaurant, I literally had to take a break. There is no oxygen in that place. I was heading out to Moab and we stopped there, and I was like, man, we have to leave this place.
Have you been to Pikes Peak area?
No, but I mean, I've seen a lot of videos from there, and it's a cool area. It looks like. I mean, obviously,
I've got family out in Colorado, so Denver, Pueblo, Colorado Springs. So we used to go out there, pretty much every other year. And I actually rode the cog rail up Pikes Peak, or on the backside. I don't remember which way it went, but that was pretty cool. And then my folks and I, we stayed at Lake George one time and did a lot of walking around. There's a lot of trails and everything. And we actually got lost on a hiking trip. So we took a hiking trip with this guide service. I don't remember the name right now. But it was just my folks and I. And it was only supposed to be like a 2-hour hike. Go on this trail, you go up the mountain a little bit, you come back down, they pick you up. We got lost. So a 2-hour hiking trip turned into like 6 hours. And they were, and of course there's no cell service. And I believe the gal had a radio, but couldn't get enough reception. So we took some other trails and this old donkey mining trail that they took along the side of the mountain, which, let me tell you, it was about as wide. It was about a foot wide, all rock, and then a steep cliff, going down like 400 feet. It was absolutely ridiculous. And here we're walking across that. But anyways, long story short, we did get out. But let me tell you, that is some of the most beautiful area in that Lake George. I love Colorado Springs, Pueblo. That's gorgeous. Garden of the Gods. Yeah. All that. I love going out to Colorado.
Yeah. I rock climbed a lot out there.
Oh, that's cool. Rock climbing. God, that would be tough.
Yeah, well, 11 Mile Canyon right outside of Lake George there.
Okay,
That was my go-to spot. I had my bachelor party in 11 Mile Canyon.
Oh, cool.
We climbed rocks and
anybody died?
Did other things that night.
Nobody died?
No, nobody died.
Well, that's good. Usually,
that's a plus.
Bachelor parties, alcohol. Yeah, I'm assuming cliffs. Not a good mix.
So, all right. So we've got. So you've hunted.
Yeah, elk.
So you've hunted.
How about whitetail?
Yeah, how about whitetail?
How about Minnesota whitetail?
Yeah, so growing up, my dad actually, it's one of his hobbies, and I'm hoping it's still his retirement plan. He trains golden retrievers for pheasant hunting.
Yeah.
He's very good at it. We've always had golden since before I was born. So growing up, it was mostly pheasant hunting was what I did.
Yep.
We whitetail hunted every year as well. My family owns a property right outside of Brainerd, Pillager area.
Yeah.
So that's where I grew up hunting. Still, I took a deer there this year.
Nice.
And so, but growing up, it was mostly upland game, pheasant hunting. And then I really didn't get super into big game hunting until I moved to Colorado. And so it was all elk and mule deer out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back into the whitetails back here in Minnesota. I have shot whitetail deer.
Nice. Well, that's good.
Right.
So you said mule deer. Did you ever get any mule deer?
I have. Yeah. Actually, that elk I was talking about, that could have been the best mule deer I had ever taken. It was a big, mature 12-point mule deer. But it was skylined on this ridge. And so I was waiting for it to come my side of the ridge so I could take this animal. But he went to the other side, of course. So I scrambled up to the top and I started glassing. And that's when I saw that 6x6 bull elk. So I took that instead.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's cool.
Can't imagine.
Well, a little bit, with your history, kind of with mine too. I didn't really do a whole lot of big game hunting until I moved to Minnesota. We did bird and, my dad had shot plenty of deer, back in the day, obviously being on the ranch and whatnot. So I didn't really, by the time I was old enough, I didn't really get the opportunity as much. And then when I moved up here, got an archery, thanks to Jim. Yep. Got an archery hunting and really loved that. And then obviously I go back to Kansas, like I alluded to in the last one, and I've been lucky enough to harvest a nice couple bucks there with my bow and whatnot. So that's kind of cool that, you started out not necessarily big game hunting, but then got into it, even out in Colorado, then back here still getting whitetail deer and stuff. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's cool how that happens.
Right. Anyone can start at any time in their life.
Oh, for sure.
That's what we're here for.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think more people need to do that.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's, and nowadays there's not as much, entry to barriers what, maybe there used to be. There's still a lot of public land out there, where people can go hunt. You can buy a rifle, a decent deer rifle for pretty much under, $500 nowadays.
Easy, yeah.
And
$300.
Yeah, exactly. And get a Savage, access, regular access or even a Savage access 2, for definitely under 500. And those are a good way to start out. And there's so many calibers for, people learning to hunt.
Yeah, like the 6.5.
Like the 6.5.
That's beginner's rifle.
That is a really nice caliber, light recoil, a little bit more than 243, but a lot of guys use that round. Well, Jared, don't you shoot a 6.5?
I was hoping this would come up. I listened to your last episode.
Yeah.
Well, at least one of them. Somebody did.
Yeah, I do. I will not deny it. I own a 6.5, but it's not the only rifle I own.
No, I shot a 6.5 once. My sister bought it from you.
Are you telling me you don't own one?
I do not own a 6.5.
Do you own a 6.5?
I don't own a 6.5.
How is that even possible?
I think it's because we're old.
We are old.
And that wasn't around when I was younger. So
No.
I don't get it.
Well, yeah, it's a new cartridge.
Right.
Newer,
Although
right?
it's based on an old cartridge, isn't it?
It is. It's based off the 6.5 Grendel.
Which I've never shot that either.
I never heard of
I
it,
did shoot
honestly, till the 6.5 Creedmoor came out.
And it seems like it's a snappy round. I know that.
It is.
It's fast, flat shooting. It's a great.
I don't even know what it compares to, honestly.
Oh, there's so much debate. I don't even know if we have time to get into it. But honestly, you
Watch
could
a Ron Spelmer video. He'll cover it.
You could compare it, 6.5 to 308 in a certain version. But a lot of the 6.5 guys now as well, 6.5 is a great long distance. A lot of the long distance guys, I mean, these guys are shooting 6, 7, 8, 1,000 yards. They're using the Creedmoor, 6.5 Creedmoor, because it is so flat shooting, low recoil, so you can get back on target really quick. And it's, less wind resistance. And then it's even got its point of impact. That is just crazy.
I don't know. The
really
6.5
nice
I shot was pretty snappy. I mean, I felt it in my shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, it was snappy. It didn't hurt at all. It wasn't much of a push, but it was snappy.
Yeah, it is snappy, but it's only got, I want to say, don't quote me on this, about, let's just say 13 foot-pounds, to where the 243 has 14. Actually, I think it's less than that. I want to say it's actually 11 and 13.
Recoil.
Yeah, recoil.
Yeah.
Yep. To where I shoot a 270. Most of the time I do have a 308, but I do shoot a 270. I want to say that's like 16. And then your 308 is right around there. And I want to say the 30-06 is running 18 or maybe 19. Maybe actually 30-06 might be over 20. Don't quote me because I don't have any figures in front of me right now, but that's pretty much the equivalent.
We're going to hold you to it.
You should hold me to it.
Well, I can tell you, I also have a 30-06.
There we go.
It's a cheap budget rifle. I bought it in college so I could elk hunt. But yeah, it's a Remington model 783. So it's a budget rifle, but
I want a 30-06.
You can have mine.
That's what my dad hunts with. He's always has. I love those old calibers like that.
But no, I shoot that 6.5 and then I shoot the 30-06, and it's, I would say, at least 5 times more recoil.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love being punished.
Yeah.
Seriously. Well, yeah, I love that. That's why I shoot that 450, the 7 MMA.
Yeah, but that 450 wasn't bad.
No, that 450 is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't stick to any one caliber. I'm 450, 308, 7 MMA. You name it, I'm probably shooting it. Well, I'm carrying it. I'm not really shooting it a whole lot unless I'm at the range.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Although that 50 cal killed a few deer last year. No, year before.
Year before.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So yeah, well, why don't we take a quick break?
Minnesota Deer Hunters Association has been building our hunting and conservation legacy over the past 40 plus years through habitat, education, advocacy, and legislation in Minnesota for Minnesota. Welcome back.
Welcome back. All right, yeah, we're back.
Brilliant.
That was brilliant. That was a good transition. That was a good transition. So we're back. Jimmy and Dean here, and our lovely guest Jared from MDHA. So lovely. Yeah, I don't know why I said lovely, but
nice.
Yeah,
I'm telling Kristen.
Our smart, awesome guest Jared.
Right.
Yeah.
Educated.
Right. Educated. There we go.
Educated.
Educated. So word on the street is, at least from
Certain.
social media, is you potentially, nothing against the DNR, but are a spy for the DNR, and you infiltrated MDHA.
Has that actually been said on social media?
Oh, yeah, many, many times.
Oh, I think that'd be hard to believe considering you just came from Colorado, but I don't know.
Right, I would too. So I guess, what do you say?
Yeah, who do you know in the DNR, Jared?
Oh, I know a lot of people in the DNR, and I don't really know what to think about this question.
It's kind of an odd question. I know
is
some
an
CO
odd-
officers. I've met a few of them. They don't like me.
Yeah, are you a spy?
Yeah, am I a spy?
Are you pushing the DNR's agenda?
No.
Whatever that means.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
know what that means.
in my understanding of what it means to be a spy, right? You're gathering intelligence and you're reporting back.
You're in the wrong spot if you're gathering intelligence from this guy.
So I guess in some sense of the word spy, sure, I'm a spy for the DNR.
I knew it.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, I travel all around the state. I talk to MDHA members. I talk to hunters. I talk to conservationists. I hear their concerns. I hear what they want to see.
Right.
And yeah, I report those back
Report it.
to the DNR.
Right.
And I say, this is what needs to happen. So,
Right. And they always
that's
listen to
your
you. They
definition.
always listen to you. I know it.
oh, 100%.
Right.
Every time.
100%.
You make the rules. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stroman, before she makes any decision, she calls me.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
No, I wish that was the case. But,
Right. That'd be easier.
but yeah, I mean, no, I'm not a spy for the DNR, but I do take the concerns of our members, the hunters, the conservationists in the state, and yeah, I bring them to the DNR.
Well, I think that's
And
the
I
point,
say,
isn't it?
This is what needs to happen. And yeah, like you said, that's the point of MDHA.
well, and then with that, you are on quite a few
Committees?
boards or committees. Yeah, maybe committees. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I'm on the Deer Advisory Committee, which is probably the most
Influential.
influential and,
Yeah.
and relevant committee that I'm on.
What do they do?
So we advise on really anything relating to deer management, whether that be wolves, harvest numbers. I mean, you name it. If they're debating on whether or not to change a bucks only zone to either sex or just a standard unlimited zone.
Any chance we can get baiting on private land?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
They used to have baiting in Minnesota, back in like the 70s, I think.
Yeah,
Legally?
Legally. Yeah. Just like down in Kansas, like you.
yeah.
Where you cheat.
It's not cheating. It's not baiting.
Yeah, you guys bait.
That's another episode. Let's talk to Jerry.
Sorry.
Well, no, that's all right. Baiting, that's not a hill I'm going to die on.
No.
It's never going to happen again.
I'm really going to push for
right
it, though.
now. Right now, we're fighting just for winter deer feeding.
Yeah.
Right. Which I fully back. And I feel bad because I can't winter feed this year because of the area I'm in.
Right.
Right. Well, with that, MDHA obviously got its start because of
Right.
the bad winter, so many in a row, deer, dying, and got its start by pushing for the deer,
Saving the deer.
winter
basically,
deer feeding.
'cause
Yeah,
it was so
it was
rough
pretty
back
much
in
save the deer.
Whenever 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we started the winter deer feeding program.
Right.
The reason you pay 50 cents on your deer license is for, originally was for winter deer feeding.
Right.
Right.
And that was because of MDHA.
Yep.
Right.
That has since changed with the arrival of CWD in the state.
Right. And that's
so-
why I can't help the deer out in my area because of the CWD risk.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
Although this winter was actually very easy on the deer, so I don't feel that bad.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we'll bring up CWD a little bit later in another episode. I think that.
Are you afraid of that? Are you afraid of that issue, Dean?
No, not at this time. But I think we have other stuff to cover other than that. I think that should be a later.
Yeah,
that could be a whole condition by itself. Honestly.
I'm sure it will be at some point.
Yeah,
but
because right now, obviously, the main thing in front of everybody's eyes and ears is wolf management.
yeah, that's crazy.
I just actually got a let me see if I can reach it here. Thing in the mail the other day. Can you help? There we go. Thank you. Congressman Pete Stauber fighting for responsible wolf management of the gray wolf. So this is a nice little piece of mail I got. So wolf management, responsible wolf management in Minnesota. How long is, what's MDHA's take on that? How long have they been working on that? What is, MDHA stance? Because I do remember last year we'd put something out about wolf management as well. So I know that's like 3 questions into one, but go ahead and we'll let you talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, wolf management has been, I think, the base at which MDHA has grown into other issues. Since we started in 1980, delisting the gray wolf and returning management to the state of Minnesota has been number one on our list of legislative priorities. That has not changed through any of the executive directors we've had over the years. Definitely not under my tenure.
Right.
We want to see the wolf delisted at the federal level, and we want a wolf season in Minnesota.
Because it has to be delisted on the federal level for us in Minnesota to be able to have a wolf season, correct?
Correct. Yes. Okay. This is a federal issue. We've gotten them delisted a number of times. We had very successful wolf hunts in Minnesota from 2012 to 2014.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And, the DNR, they manage it very well. They got hour by hour updates on wolf harvest numbers.
I do remember that, because it was like all of a sudden they wanted you to register right away, and we ended up, the harvest number was, again, don't quote me on numbers, let's just say 300, and they, was it like a week or a 2-week hunting season, and they filled that within days.
You had to call in before you went out hunting, I believe, to get the numbers.
And I want to say they ended up harvesting more than what they actually.
I think they did get a few extras.
Quota was supposed to slightly. Not much, but just a few.
But they controlled it, I think, within just a few hours. So I mean, they were on top of it.
And that was trapping and hunting, correct?
Correct.
Back then,
Yeah.
I tried to get in on that. That was tough.
Yeah, and so we want to see that come back, right? And other states, so the west or the northern Rocky Mountain states in the western U.S. So Wyoming, Idaho, parts of Washington, and Montana. They still have a wolf season because they were able to successfully delist the wolf and have a provision in that delisting that prohibited judicial review. So basically, the courts could not overturn their decision to delist the wolves. Minnesota has never had that. So we delist the wolf, and then the courts, there's some lawsuit filed. The courts take up that lawsuit and end up getting them back on the endangered species list.
And isn't that because Minnesota's always had wolves, where some of the other states, they were reintroduced? Is that correct?
That's definitely part of it.
Okay.
Right. Minnesota is the only state in the lower 48 that has what we call an endemic population. We've always had wolves. They've never gone extinct in the state of Minnesota. Every other state other than Alaska, they have gone. Well, they've been extirpated there. Extirpation is a local extinction, right?
That's crazy.
Right. So looking at this Stauber flare that Dean got, Jared, I see it mentions Trust the Science Act and Managing Predators Act. Do you know anything about those?
Absolutely. So Trust the Science Act was introduced last year by Lauren Boebert out of Colorado, of all places. But yeah, basically the Trust the Science Act is saying just that. Trust the science. Trust the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that has said the gray wolf is fully recovered to its current habitable range in the United States. Return management back to the states, let them manage their own populations. And when I say current habitable range, that is, I think, in my opinion, the biggest issue at this point is we have these federal courts and we have these special interest groups like howling for wolves that like to use historical range for the gray wolf.
Which is a lot larger.
It's everywhere.
Right.
If we're going to use historical range as a metric of recovery for the gray wolf, well, we need wolf packs in downtown Minneapolis, downtown Chicago. And that's just,
well, I think in the same argument too, they say that white-tailed deer shouldn't belong in northern Minnesota too. And
because they're an invasive species.
Yeah, right. And which is like, oh, fine and great, but that's not the reality of today.
Right.
And we have to actually live in reality. So,
right. And that's why we use current habitable range, right?
Right.
Where is the habitat still suitable to support a population of the gray wolf?
Right.
Yeah.
And within that range, they're fully recovered by every metric, by every agency that deals with this.
And I know obviously the numbers are going to be controversial, or, there's so many numbers floating around as to how many that there currently are. I want to say 2,700 has been the given number to state that that's what it takes for us to be able to get a hunting season, or for them to be delisted. Is that correct? Or
well, 2,700 is roughly the current population estimate in the state.
Okay.
But U.S. Fish and Wildlife, when they set the recovery goal for the gray wolf in Minnesota, it was at 1,600.
Oh wow!
And then the DNR bumped that up to 9. I might be mixing them up. I think U.S. Fish and Wildlife set 1,400 and DNR bumped it up to 16.
Okay.
Well, we're at 2,700.
Right.
So well above that target recovery number.
Yeah. And according to some, obviously, a lot more, well above that 2,700 at this point.
Right.
Potentially.
And that's my biggest question, is we've been at 2,700 for 25 years now.
Right.
And the wolf range has been shown to be expanding, but the population number has not.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how that could be possible. I think part of that is we're still using the same research methodology today as we were 25 years ago.
Right.
Well, technology has changed a lot
in that
time frame. So it might be time to rethink how we're doing our wolf study.
Yep.
And maybe where we're doing our wolf studies.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we've seen reports from Detroit Lakes area, even Malacca.
Right. I just got a report today out of close to Park Rapids that was obviously somebody had been recording these wolves for a while, because some of the pictures were back to 2022, and there was a lot of evidence of wolves over there. So they are definitely spreading.
Yeah, where normally the wolf range, potentially would be, the Iron Range or anything north of Grand Rapids.
Farther south, that's historical.
Right. Yeah, so that's kind of crazy within itself, But getting back to the Trust the Science Act and everything like that. So MDHA, obviously, their big proponent is trust the science. It seems like they don't get into, the negative end or the misinformation, to where, you guys as MDHA want to stay in, the correct numbers and stay with the science, so can you elaborate a little bit on that end of it?
Well, yeah, I hear every day, that, I think there's 10,000 wolves in the state of Minnesota. I think there's 6,000 in the state of Minnesota, and there very well could be, right? However, MDHA, we pride ourselves on sticking with the current accepted scientific understanding of wildlife management and populations, right? And that current understanding is the 27 to, I believe last year, that number did bump to 2,900. So 27 to 2,900 wolves.
Yep.
That is the official estimate in the state of Minnesota. It could be way higher, but we as an organization are not going to come out and say it's not 2,900, it's 6,000.
Without any proof.
Yeah, we're not going to say, the DNR is wrong.
Yeah.
It's got to be triple that.
Yeah, because I'm assuming they must put some real effort into making that count.
They do, right? And again, are their methods perfect? Probably not.
Right. Especially if they haven't changed in so many years.
Right.
So there's got to be some update there, I would imagine.
Well, with that, that is where Wolf Report Jimmy, comes into play.
Well, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt at all because we can obviously, with Wolf Report, with, the people sightings.
Right. You can definitely see the expanded range for sure.
Oh, for sure. Because if it wasn't for, honestly, Wolf Report, I would not even expect there to be wolves in Detroit Lakes, Wadena. I used to travel that area quite a bit for work.
Pine County. I mean, there's not a lot down there.
Never thought there were wolves in that area. So that's just kind of crazy. So that's where Wolf Report really, really helps me just as a normal citizen, like, to understand all that.
Right.
So, and then, with Wolf Report, MDHA kind of backs Wolf Report as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much, MDHA.
Yeah, so, and Wolf Report's powered by MDHA.
For sure.
So that's pretty cool. So why do you believe in Wolf Report as well, Jared, or even why does MDHA believe in it, as a whole?
Yeah, it's a great question. And really, like we talked about, the methodology behind the DNR's official population estimates for the gray wolf, they're not perfect.
Right.
And there's always room for improvement. And we hear reports from hunters in the field all the time that they're, especially, the far north part of the state, that they're seeing more wolves or wolf sign than they are deer or deer tracks. And there's a lot of on Facebook posting, a trail cam picture of a wolf or I saw a bunch of wolves today and no deer. Well, what can we do with that? Nothing, right? You're screaming into the void. It's not really contributing at that point to the larger conversation, to actual meaningful change. So Wolf Report came in and said, well, let's aggregate this data, these reports. Let's try to make meaning out of it. Let's try to map it geographically on where and what hunters are seeing. And then maybe we can do something about it. And as MDHA, we saw that platform and we said, that's something we can get behind because that's exactly what we need. We're hearing all of this behind closed doors feedback from hunters, but how do we get that to be represented somewhere visually and meaningfully? And I think Wolf Report rose to the occasion and stepped in to fill that place. And that's why we are proud to support them.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think that's a good way to say it because, everything again, you see it on all the social media and stuff. Well, that only goes so far. And then obviously one guy posts a picture and it gets 2,000 views and 100 likes and a few comments here and there, but
then it goes away.
And then goes away. Yeah. Because then somebody else posts, oh, here's a picture of my deer, or here's a picture of what I saw, or a rub or whatever. So it disappears in social media, to where with Wolf Report, it's a website as well.
Right. It's a database.
It's a
database.
Website.
It's storing all that information.
Yeah. So that is really, really neat and unique to be able to use that data.
Right. And build that data because, you do a few years of this, you're really going to get a much clearer picture than just a few months that we have now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
And I have been asked, is Wolf Report going to be able to archive data year by year?
Absolutely.
So can you wipe the map clean next year?
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
The 2023 map and then start fresh.
Now that we have that data, it's in a database. We can do whatever we want with that data. And that's why I love collecting it, getting the location data, the photos, even though they're just trail cam photos, but that's proof. People believe that then.
Right. Well, and the good thing is people are having trail cams out 365 days a year now.
Right.
Back in the day, you put your trail cam out, so if you're hunting rifle season, you're putting it out mid-October, beginning of October. And then you're pulling the data a week before you're going out. Opening day Saturday, you're going out Thursday, pulling your drive out of your camera to see what's around. Nowadays, people are documenting, especially on private land, even public land. They're having a lot in certain areas where you can have, your trail cams out. People are documenting that all year round. So that's where this, Wolf Report just isn't seasonal. It can be used all year long, and then seeing where these wolves are, and being able to track them, because obviously we all know deer move around. Wildlife moves around everywhere we go. They're not just staying in one spot specifically. So the nice thing is you will see the wolves come in and out of people's properties or, certain areas, along with obviously the deer population as well. So that's kind of the cool thing. I will be interested to see how many reports we get in, especially with trail cam, with the cellular trail cams, see what we get in for, the summer. See what kind of reports and everything like that, especially even with this light winter that we've been, winter that we've been having. I would love to see how the reports are. And not only will it, show us a little bit of the picture into, wolves, but even deer. Because I know at MDHA we get a lot of reports of, deer trail cam photos and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that even comes about with this mild winter that we're having.
Yeah, and that's one thing I wanted to do is to overlap the data that Wolf Report gets with the DNR's data on the deer areas and take their numbers of, harvest numbers and see if somehow we can see if our reports somehow work out with their deer area numbers to the various harvest take
for sure.
Getting.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. No, I think that'd be really cool. I'm glad you guys, MDHA, are working on, I say you guys, us as MDHA are working on, a lot of the wolf management and stuff. And I know there's a big thing even last year that went out about, governor's opener, about MDHA pulling out of that for wolf management and
Second Amendment
rights, as well. Mm-hmm. So that was a really, that was probably in my time, and even as an MDHA member for years, and Jimmy, you've been an MDHA member for years as well.
Absolutely.
That was probably one of the largest, or probably the largest. I don't know, largest is a term.
I think it was probably I don't know how to say it, but the most recognizable thing. I was kind of surprised by it, honestly, that you guys did it. I mean, it was taking a stance, and I mean, obviously I agree with it, but it was brave, I think, what you guys did.
Yeah. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, Jared?
Yeah. And this really, it came out of, phone calls and emails from our members, expressing their concerns regarding wolf management and Second Amendment rights in the state, and the current trajectory that the state is on under the leadership of Governor Walz. And so our executive board got together and talked about it and made the decision that we would not participate in the governor's deer opener this year. And we have been the sponsor of that event since it started.
Right.
We actually got that event started.
Exactly.
And so for us to pull out it's not insignificant.
Right.
It's kind of a big statement of, we don't like the road we're going down. We've got two big issues in the state that need to be addressed, and we have the members behind us that that want to see that change.
And those two big issues were last year.
Correct.
MDHA was on the forefront of that, no matter what you might hear after that, or even at the end of deer season this year, where MDHA already stated that even early in the year. I mean, I think that came out in May.
April or May.
Yeah, April or May. So that was already right on the forefront of, well before any seasons had started or anything that had been going out about wolf management or anything else, that MDHA already jumped on board of that almost a good 9 months before anybody else had even thought about wolf management.
Right. Well, and I wouldn't even say jumped on board. That's true. We've been, in my opinion, we've been steering the ship, and we made an adjustment. We turned the wheel the other way.
Yeah. And that's kind of what your members kind of drove you to, right?
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't do anything without our members saying so.
Right.
Right. Exactly. No, that's pretty cool. That's good to know some of that information that I'm guessing a lot of people didn't understand or realize even what went on.
Yeah, it was just a blurb in a newspaper or something. MDHA pulls out of the governor opener, and people don't really understand why maybe you did that.
Right. Yeah. So it's good to be able to, talk about that a little bit. And I know you did some interviews, back, last year that talked about a little bit more that I'm sure people still, need to view and understand why MDHA did that and what MDHA stands for. So that's good to know. So
Yeah.
cool.
Right.
Well, I think with that, why don't we take another short little break here, and we'll come back with Jared, and we'll kind of talk about what MDHA is currently working on and a little bit more like that. So we'll be back
good.
in just a few minutes.
At wolf.report, citizen science means that you provide the data and we provide the platform. Our website is designed for the citizens, hunters, trappers, and anybody else of Minnesota to easily report wolf encounters and share location data.
All right, and we're back from a little quick break there. So, Jared, a little bit earlier, we were kind of elaborating on the Stauber thing that I got in the mail, and you did attend I'm trying to think of the name of it, the legislative listening. Is that correct? Down in Willow River, right?
Yeah. Listening session.
Yeah. So you did attend that. So I know earlier we kind of alluded to it, but we didn't get to talk about it a whole lot. So is there anything you want to add to that, or how that meeting went?
How'd that go? Yeah. I wasn't able to attend myself, so.
Yeah, it was an interesting event. I was told it was questions from the floor or statements from the floor, and everyone would be held to, a minute 30. Starting off right away, there were a lot of questions being directed towards myself and MDHA about, where have we been all these years? What are we doing now?
Were you an official guest there?
It was an open session.
Really? But they knew you were there, so they were asking you a bunch of questions?
Yeah, they knew I was there. And so these questions, they started flying, and I stood up to try to answer the first one, and it was immediately I was, being talked over or yelled at. So I never really got a chance to respond to any of the questions that were asked.
Yeah. I do remember seeing a video on that. And I know you were trying to, from what I could tell, you were trying to tell that, MDHA is half the population of the lower 48. Or MDHA, Minnesota is half the population of wolves in the lower 48.
Correct.
I'm assuming what the question was, is the population of, the wolves, like we talked about earlier, the numbers that the DNR has, stuff like that. So, like I said, I saw a video. There's a lot of angry people in that. So I guess the question is you were trying to get out, what were you trying to get out in that question, in that message?
Yeah. Well, there was a statement that Representative Stauber made that Minnesota has more wolves than any other state in the lower 48.
Okay.
While that statement is very true, I don't think it really speaks to the severity of the issue.
Yeah.
Because yes, we have more than any other state, but in reality, we have half of the entire population of the lower 48. There's an official estimation of 6,000 wolves in the lower 48.
Okay.
Minnesota's at about 2,900.
Right.
So we have half.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy to even understand.
Right. When you go by land mass.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when you now have federal judges saying, this species needs to be listed under the Federal Endangered Species Act because they're not, again, it goes back to the recovery, whether you define that as historical range or current habitable. But regardless, we have a species that some judges think is not recovered.
Yep.
Nationwide. Sure, they might not be. Historically, right?
Yeah.
They might not be. But you have half of the current population in the continental United States in one state.
Right. And mostly in the northern part of the state.
Correct.
Right.
Half of one state.
Yeah.
Half of 40% of one state.
Right.
Which is pretty sad because most of that's from Highway 2 north.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And so that state should be able to make their own management decisions.
Yeah.
And
You
that's
would
what
hope.
we're arguing for.
Right.
You know, and that's what I go back to all the time when I'm talking with legislators and they're against, you know, delisting the wolf or returning management to the state, right? The first question I ask them is, do you have faith in our current agencies to manage our wildlife populations?
Right.
You know, the DNR.
Yep.
Can the DNR do the job they were hired to do? And every one of them says, yes, they're very qualified. They can manage our wildlife.
Yep.
So let them.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, why not let them? Obviously, they manage, you know, the white-tailed deer herd. They manage, you know, bear, fish, every species.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
that
they
we-
still
that
even
we're
manage
able to
some
hunt.
elk in northern Minnesota, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
and moose.
Right. I mean, they used to. When I was younger, you could hunt moose.
Right.
I mean, you can't anymore unless you're part of a tribe, but
Yeah, so I mean that's something good to go on, you know, even, you know, with that. So alluding to that and people from what I could see in the short little video clip that I saw, obviously the whole listening session wasn't videotaped. The whole thing wasn't, or at least not that I could, you know, participate in. But at what I could see was just very negative comments towards you yourself and or MDHA. It sure seems like you've been attacked more than anybody, which is
right.
which I don't quite understand because obviously you're speaking for an organization. And so was there anything else, you know, that you can remember from that night or recall that, you know, just some questions that were asked that you might want to, you know, just get on the air or allude to, you know, as to some of the questions you were asked?
Yeah. From my memory, there were, two questions I can remember that, again, I tried to answer,
Right.
but they started yelling.
Yeah, it
before I
seemed like
could.
you were shut down pretty quick
Yeah.
with even under that 2-minute spiel time.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, you asked the question, do you want the answer or not?
Right.
Apparently they didn't. But those two questions were, number one, about a billboard
Yes.
that one of our chapters had put up that said, 54,000, I think.
54,000 fawns.
Yeah, wolves kill 54,000 fawns a year in Minnesota. And there was this, you know, this statement out there that I made that billboard come down because I apparently love wolves.
Which is obviously incorrect.
Right.
We can put that out there right now that's false because the billboard was never taken down.
It wasn't.
But the
it wasn't,
issues
no.
with the billboard were
Yeah, there were some issues with the billboard.
Yeah.
Specifically, the number 54,000 fawns. I could not find a single peer-reviewed scientific study that validates that number, and neither could the chapter that put it up. And they acknowledged that they did not have that source, and they made the decision to not, I guess, renew their contract with the billboard company.
Right. Well, and that's where MDHA and you as a whole need to, you know, you're stuck with the science. That's always been, you know, the saying is stick with the science, where 54,000, you know, fawns, it could be less, it could be more. But the question is where did that data come from? And nobody could ever provide the information where that data was provided. So obviously MDHA couldn't back that exact number because nobody could prove that it was that number or less or more. I mean, it could be more. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But the data wasn't backed by science.
Correct.
I guess is even the correct term to say.
Yeah, and I've been, you know, I did a number of interviews once that billboard went up, and I said in every single one of them, I 100% MDHA 100% supports the intention behind that billboard that we need wolf management in the state of Minnesota, but we can't verify that number because they don't have a source.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, and then, a lot of people thought just with social media that the billboard was taken down. It never actually was. It actually ran its course over
It just expired.
Yeah, over the month. And then there was two other billboards that were put up after that, correct?
Well, so one more actually went up. There were two other that were proposed.
Okay.
But we ended up having just one of them run for 2 months rather than a month each.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that other one, the one in between, just again, with the science and everything that MDHA, backs, that MDHA couldn't exactly promote that one as much as.
Yeah. That one said something about protecting children, livestock, and pets.
I think it was
wildlife and pets.
Yeah, protect your children, protect your pets, children, and wildlife. I think was what the billboard said.
Yeah.
So obviously, with MDHA, wildlife are wolves.
Yeah.
Wolves
are wildlife.
Wolves are wildlife. Yep. And there's been no on record of children, being, attacked.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, we encourage the chapter not to put that billboard up because, when a chapter does something, the media calls me and I have to be able to justify the statement that is made.
Well, for sure.
And I knew with that statement, they're going to call and they're going to say, find a case of a child being attacked by a wolf.
Yep.
Well, in the state of Minnesota, I can't. Right. I think there's been one or two in like Siberia. That's over, I don't know how many years.
Right.
But then also, so does MDHA not consider wolves to be wildlife?
Right.
Well, absolutely we do.
Yeah.
They're wildlife like any other species in the state, but they need to be managed like every other species.
Exactly. So it wasn't even about truly that the other chapter putting up the billboard, is that it needed to be not necessarily sponsored, but more recognized by MDHA,
right?
As a whole, as an organization, because obviously you can't have, chapters putting out their own advertising, stuff like that, which is understandable. So the billboards were never actually taken down. The second one was actually, the third billboard was put up quickly, so that way it just wouldn't be available to everybody because it wasn't, again, backed by, MDHA.
Correct. Yeah. And that third billboard, I'm trying to remember exactly what it said, but it was something along the lines of manage wolves before their prey is extinct or something like that.
Yeah, something similar to that. I don't remember exactly what it was either. I remember seeing it, but it was up there longer. But yeah, that one didn't seem so controversial, so that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it actually stuck to, I guess, if you want to say the science and or just the norm as to what it should be, just bringing light to the situation.
Right. It wasn't meant to elicit so much of an emotional response,
right,
as it was, to get you thinking about the actual facts.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. And on the short time frame, we didn't have a whole lot of time to tweak that message either.
Yeah.
But the goal is supporting wolf management, responsible wolf management in the state of Minnesota.
100%.
The wolf should not be exempt from the management strategies that we apply to every other species.
Yep.
Just because they're charismatic
and fluffy and cute and whatever.
They're a beautiful animal, right?
Well, they are.
Right? Nobody can deny that. But that doesn't exempt them from responsible management.
Correct.
Right.
Just like we manage the deer, we manage, bear populations, manage, fish. I mean, we manage every aspect of it.
Right. And it's just the reality of, today's world.
Right.
As humans, we manage these wildlife populations, and there's no reason one should be left out.
Correct.
We care about the deer. That's
And that has to be managed. Yeah, exactly.
One's not more important than the other.
No. And that's something that obviously MDHA has been, like we alluded to earlier, backed for many, many years. So there's no surprise to it. And actually MDHA has wolf management signs, out there. You'll see it in the public here and there, and they are available. So, I mean, this is nothing new to MDHA. It's just, I think it has been brought forward, with social media,
for sure.
with the public and everything like that. But I still, from what I understand, I still think MDHA has been on the forefront of it from day one, honestly, and have been out there in front of at least their members, maybe, not the whole state as far as hunters and everything, which MDHA could improve on, obviously. Everybody can improve on, but they still have been out there for their members and everything else. So with that being said, what is MDHA working on currently, in the current events?
Yeah, well, our mission, habitat, education, advocacy, and legislation.
Yep.
So we do a lot of habitat work around the state. Our official grant-funded habitat projects are around, I would guess today, 80,000 acres of public land in the state of Minnesota.
Wow.
The last time we pulled the numbers, it was 75,000, but we have like 20 some grants going right now.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
I'm going to estimate 80,000. But on top of that, we also have our conservation seed program and our conservation apple tree program.
Okay.
And those aren't factored into that number.
Yep.
So we give out a lot of apple trees every year. I mean, I couldn't even guess how many bags of conservation seed for food plots that we give out every year. But we're looking at, I would estimate 5,000 acres a year.
Okay.
In those seed and apple tree programs.
Yeah.
So a lot of habitat work that we work on every year.
That's awesome. And Jim, you've actually been able to receive some of the apple trees, correct?
Yes, I have. Actually, I think I got 3 of you from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And the same year, I bought 3 from a local place that sells them.
Nursery.
And the only 3 that are still around are the ones I got from you guys.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, they're standing test time. I mean, I have lots of deer come in the yard and take them down, and rabbits, and I'm keeping those ones alive, surprisingly.
Right. No, that's good. Yeah, the apple tree program and seed program are very good programs that members, you have to be a member of, because it's obviously a membership perk. So that's kind of the cool thing, that we get the apple trees and the seed program going and everything like that. So, and the chapters are getting more and more involved in it. So that's always something to really promote. And with that, I know this time of year, springtime, I know we talked about it. The last episode is our sons, we're part of Forkhorn Camp.
And they're going back again this year.
And they're going to go back this year. Yeah, they've got signed up for Deep Portage, which is out of Hackensack area. Yeah, which is really cool. And so that's really neat. So you want to elaborate on kind of the Forkhorn program and everything?
Yeah. That brings us to that second part of our mission, which is education. So our Forkhorn camps, to date, we've sent, last time I pulled the numbers was about a year ago, and that was 15,000 kids, youth, through our Forkhorn camps. So it's obviously more now. But it's a great opportunity for our youth to be exposed to, one, to get their firearm safety.
Right. That's a big thing.
That is great.
It's huge, right? They get firearm safety as part of their camp, but also get to learn, the basics of whitetail deer ecology, of hunting ethics, and really just how to be a good steward of the environment.
Right.
So Forkhorn camps are great. We're also trying to expand our education programs through, partnerships like we have with Wolf.report, to get more people involved in the issues that matter. And then I'm doing I'm calling them fireside chats, but doing some of those every once in a while just to talk about the hot topic of the hour.
Right. I'm sure the members appreciate that.
Right.
Yeah, I hope so. Otherwise, I'm just wasting my time.
No.
Well, I know I listened to the last one and then read your article in the, I believe it was a Winter Whitetails magazine about, kind of the wolf management and your fireside chat really combined. If you could read the article and watch the fireside chat that you did, that was really
Well, it's just
really
good to be on the record about some things,
exactly.
As an organization.
As to where you stand and the organization stands and everything else. So that was really eye-opening on a lot of things and a lot of issues that some of the members, if they're not truly active, may not know as to where MDHA stands as a whole. And stuff like that. So no, that's really good information.
Yeah, especially with all the disinformation out there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There is quite a bit of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we've all trudged through it.
Yep, that's for sure. And I do see that that is where MDHA tries to stay out of all that, stay on the positive end of it, which is great. Obviously, we pride ourselves on that and not getting down in the
stick to your mission
stuff. Yeah,
get things done. I mean, you can sit around and argue all you want, but you ain't getting anything done doing that.
Right. Yep. So with that, is there anything else you want to add, or maybe why should people be a member of MDHA?
Yeah. Well, as a hunter conservationist, I personally believe that I have this not only desire, but need to give back to the land, the species, the people that help me to accomplish my goals in hunting and conserving wildlife, right?
Yeah.
So I think becoming a member of a conservation organization, whether that be MDHA, Pheasants Forever, Trout Unlimited, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I mean, there's so many great conservation organizations out there.
Right.
And I think we all want to give back to them or back to the landscape. But I think it goes a step further in that it's kind of a responsibility,
Right.
If we're going to be a responsible harvester of that resource, we need to help cultivate that resource.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't personally know an organization that does it better than MDHA. And the thing that really sets MDHA apart is every dollar that we raise, every dollar we spend is in Minnesota, right? We raise dollars in Minnesota, we spend dollars in Minnesota, and that's to benefit Minnesota habitat, Minnesota hunters, and Minnesota residents, right?
Yep.
I don't care if you hunt or not. If you just want to go out on public land and find a pileated woodpecker, MDHA has likely played a role in building the habitat for that pileated woodpecker to be there.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. You can't say that about a bunch of different organizations, or even state organizations. Honestly, I don't know of too many state organizations where the money stays within the one state. I mean, you look at Rocky Mountain elk. I mean, they're obviously mainly in Rocky Mountains, but they do have, public land here. We do a lot. MDHA does a lot with them on public land, but obviously, the money kind of, moves around. But where with MDHA, the money stays here.
Right.
You can't say that about a whole lot of organizations that are in this state where the money stays within Minnesota.
Yeah, and there's not too many places these days where you can give back like you can with MDHA.
Yeah.
Particularly to the state of Minnesota.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And you guys are just a great, I think, resource for people to do that, an easy way to do that.
Yep, exactly. And then that's where, a call for action would be, the more members, the better, because obviously the more members, the more voice, the more, the more you can push to the DNR to, have certain rules and regulations,
Right.
and the more, you can push them.
Right. Get active. Join, take part. I mean, you can push these organizations to do the things you want if you are actually an active member.
Right. Because what is there, 60 chapters through MDHA? Pretty close to it.
60, 61, I think.
Yeah, somewhere right around there. So, I mean, get active with your local chapter. Get your kids a forkhorn camp.
Absolutely.
Be part of the membership. Be active with the chapter. Do hides for habitat. Donate.
Just go to the meetings to start with.
Exactly. Go to the meetings, so that way in your local community alone, it's amazing what they can do. I mean, your local chapter can support your archery program. They can support, the school archery program, the school trap shooting program.
Right.
I mean, that's a big thing. Trap shooting is growing leaps and bounds over the past few years. I mean, it is crazy how much it has grown. And then it's just amazing what MDHA can do for your local community with these programs that they provide.
Right. I think it's important to get the kids involved in as many ways as possible, because they're just not doing it as much as like when I was a kid.
Right. There's too many other, I don't know, obstacles, but too many other
attention suckers. Really.
Yes, exactly. I mean, my kid alone, he's always on his Xbox and Switch or whatever, which I was too as a kid, because that really came out when I was younger. But it just, you still got to get him outdoors. And that's where MDHA really strives at with the younger crowd, to help push them to get outdoors. And we need everybody to get outdoors. Not even if you're, 12, 13, 14, 15, even, adult hunters. I know there's other programs that the DNR sponsors there that obviously MDHA can get involved, to sponsor, older hunters. Any hunters of any age to get involved, because obviously we're losing, not necessarily that we're losing, but people just aren't getting into it as much as what they used to.
Right.
And that tradition it's on the downward turn for right now, but obviously as history repeats itself, it'll come back. But as of right now,
well, and I think that's where MDHA's habitat program helps too. They give people to go hunt, because I think that's a barrier. Is we grew up where we had hunting land. Our families hunted. Where there's a lot of people, I think, in a lot of parts of the state that don't have that, and I think that's a barrier to entry. Is they'd like to get into hunting, but they honestly don't know where to go. And I think that's where the habitat programs for MDHA help, because you're giving people a place to go hunting.
Oh, for sure.
Them have places to go hunt. Yeah, public land.
Yep, exactly. And the good thing about MDHA, Jared, is, as a member, you have a voice, especially when you're active with the chapter.
You have a vote, don't you?
Yeah, you have a vote. You have a voice as to what MDHA does as a whole, correct?
That's absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, your voice is actually heard with some organizations. You're a number. You're just a member number. It doesn't matter how active you are. You're just a number.
Yeah, you get a sticker, and that's about it. And
exactly.
They do what they're going to do.
Yeah, to where with MDHA, you're an active member. You're more than a number, because you have a voice as to how your chapter and how the organization goes as a whole, as to what the issues that MDHA, goes with. So
yeah, I mean, when I go to the Capitol, I'm going there on behalf of our members. Yeah. And that's how they voted, and that's how I'm required to advocate, right? I don't go to the Capitol with a personal agenda. I go there on behalf of our members and, hunters in general, I would like to think, because our members are hunters. So that's what I'm there to advocate for. And it really gives you a voice to become a member. Yeah, exactly. So with that, a good call to action would be to look into MDHA, become a member. Yeah. Do it. Exactly. I mean, why wouldn't you? Help out. What is a membership? $35 nowadays? $35 a year. I mean, come on. That's not bad.
and
you get a magazine too. I really like the magazine.
Yeah, you get a magazine, and that is full of really cool articles and talks about what MDHA does, all the time with their, chapters and everything else. So that's something to really look into. But yeah, I would say look into becoming an MDHA member.
Just do it.
Do a little bit of research on that. Check out Wolf Report. If you have wolves on camera or anything,
share
them, because that'd be great. Because that obviously helps the cause of everything.
One of the causes. For.
Yeah,
it's a popular one right now,
right? For sure. So I think that'll do it for this episode of Down the Barrel.
So
what
Jared,
do you think?
You're going to come back?
Anytime. Happy to join you guys.
Careful what you wish for. We might make you come back.
Well, it sure makes us seem a lot smarter than what we are.
Yeah, definitely gives us a little more credibility.
Yeah, for sure. So next time, hopefully, we'll kind of look into what we can do next time. Maybe we'll bring Jared back, talk a little bit about some other issues, a little bit more about MDHA, obviously hit on the wolves topic and everything else.
No, I'm sure we'll check back in.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have Taylor Swift on. Who knows?
Well, if the Chiefs win, we definitely will.
You think so? Is that who she's dating? Some Chiefs guy?
Yeah. Travis Kelce.
Oh, yeah. I suppose.
Of course you don't know.
I don't care.
Yeah, you don't bleed red.
Purple.
Yeah, you bleed purple.
That's right.
I bleed red.
Right? I'm just happy there's no green there.
That, yeah. Green, any shade of green. Let's put it that way. Any shade of green. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, tune in until next time.
So, are we heading to the range yet?
I think so. I think we're going to hit the range, and we might even shoot that 6.5.
Did he bring the 6.5?
I think so. We'll have to check his truck. Did you bring it?
I'm still here.
Oh, yeah.
I did bring the 6.5.
Forgot he was still here.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I brought the 30-06. I got the mini 14.
Nice.
What did I bring? A couple handguns.
Cool. Well, maybe we'll get some photos at least, because it takes a lot to transfer all this out to the range. So
yeah, no doubt.
Maybe we'll get a few photos, see what it's all about, and heck, maybe we'll bring you back for a short episode next time just to talk about the range that we're doing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sounds
for sure.
Good.
All right, guys. Well, tune in until next time, and we'll catch you later.
Happy Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later, Jared. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Views expressed by Jimmy and Deano or podcast guests are solely their own and do not represent the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association and wolf.report.